Okay, so I've promised a lot of people to make a quick guide on the Reckoning single target raid build as well. But still, a while ago I was very new to the build, so I didn't want to make one because I don't want to give you guys any misinformation. But now I've been testing it, been playing it a lot, and I got rank 3 on Mythic Shriek Wing without any wings procs or PIs or anything as well. So I think I finally got it down now. So I'm gonna show you how I do my Final Reckoning burst rotation. So let's teleport to the target dummies. There we go. Now, okay, so here is the build basically that I play in the raids a lot. I used to play a lot with the Blade of Wrath as well, and I actually like this more as well, and it's very similar. So just pick whatever you like, I guess, but this might be just a little bit better and it's more popular as well. Okay, now we're gonna take a look at the rotation. Finally, we're gonna go through it step by step, extremely slow. I'm gonna explain pretty much every global as we go. The rotation might change slightly depending on, like, say, your haste. I have a very low haste, 12% in this clip, and also on the procs. So if you proc, then you might want to use a Blade of Justice over like a Crusader Strike or so on, but we go over the priority of abilities after this, so that should clear it out. Okay, let's start. So first, when we start the fight from range, we are gonna Judgment because we are not in range of Blade of Justice, but if we start from close enough, then we can actually start with the Blade of Justice first. So let's see, we Judgment, then we Blade of Justice, then we do 2 Crusader Strikes in a row to get 5 Holy Power, and then I actually Consecration here because otherwise I would have one global mid burst where I'm not doing anything because everything is on cooldown. So I found that I need to basically waste one global here to make the burst smoother. This is something that might be different if you have more haste, then you might not need to cast the Consecration here, because Consecration on one target is extremely low damage, but I'd rather use something than just stand still. So okay, I Consecration here, and now we go in for the actual burst since we're 5 Holy Power. So we use Seraphim, then immediately pop our cooldown macro here. My cooldown macro is basically just it's gonna use my use trinket, which for me is the PvP badge trinket, and it's gonna use my racial Fireblood for Dark Iron Wars. It's gonna use my wings and Strength Potion. It's basically my cooldown macro. And after the cooldown macro, we Hammer of Wrath to get back to 3 Holy Power. So then we have enough for Executing Sentence. But first we're gonna hit the Final Reckoning though. There we hit the Final Reckoning and then Executing Sentence. And you want to do it this way around, because if you Final Reckoning first, the 20% damage buff from it is gonna count towards the Executing Sentence damage. Okay, after Executing Sentence, we are 0 Holy Power, so we use a Divine Toll. Now, there actually happened to be some target dummies nearby, so I got full 5 Holy Power from this. But usually if you're just hitting one target, you might get like, say, 3 or so. And then you just need to get Holy Power from the other generators, but since we got 5 from this, we immediately spend it with the Templar's Verdict, and then we are missing 3, so we use Hammer of Wrath, because we want to use Hammer of Wrath on cooldown. Since I'm playing Mad Paragon Legendary, it's very important to use Hammer of Wrath on cooldown. Even if I wasn't playing the Legendary, it's still very good to use it on cooldown. Then we played of Justice as well to get full holy power. Then we spend. Then we Wake of Ash and spend again. And then we just basically go back to the usual rotation here. Or I actually wrote priority because it's not as much of a rotation. It's just the priority of abilities. I explained this in my my Mythic Plus guide as well. Even though I'm playing a different build, it's still pretty much the same thing. So yeah, now we're just doing the rotation here. Now we're about to do the 1 mini burst. 1 mini burst is basically the same, but without wings. So now we start, we have the 1 mini burst ready. We start to build 5 holy power, and then we start the burst rotation again. Okay, so Seraphim. Crusader Strike, because we couldn't Hammer of Wrath there. Usually we would Hammer of Wrath. Then we Final Reckoning, Executing Sentence, Divine Toll. We spend with Templar's Verdict. We gain with the Wake of Ashes, and then we spend again. And then we are back to the priority of abilities again. That was the 1 minute burst. Okay, now before we wrap this up, let's quickly remind ourselves about the priority of abilities between bursts. This is pretty much the same that I had in my Mythic Plus guide as well. It's the same for AoE and single target situations, except for the spender is going to be Divine Storm on AoE, and on single target it's going to be Templar's Verdict. So it goes as follows. Number 1, Blade of Justice. Number 2, Hammer of Wrath. Now if you use Mad Paragon Legendary, I would switch those around. I would use Hammer of Wrath over Blade of Justice, just use it on cooldown. 3, Judgment. 4, Crusader Strike. And 5, Consecration. Consecration is if you absolutely have nothing else to do, you press that. Especially on a single target, as I said, it's very weak. So in like, say, like a Mythic Plus situation, you usually would be better off like throwing a heal or a dispel or something right there. And spend holy power at 5 or 4 holy power, not at 3. So basically if you are at 4 holy power and the only generator you have is Blade of Justice, you don't want to overcap yourself with holy power. So that's when you spend at 4, else spend at 5. And now for like a very minor min-maxing tip that just popped into my head while recording this. Right here in my bursts with wings, I actually spent holy power at 3 holy power as my wings are just about to end here, right? So I would rather push in 1 more Templar's Verdict before my wings end than go for the 4 or 5 holy power before spending. So this is like a really exceptional place where you might want to use 3 holy power already. But as I said, this is extremely min-maxy, so no big deal.